Rule 88C of GST Act and other updates. This session is going to be handled by Madam Aanchal Kapoor from Amritsar. Welcome you, Madam, from Bangalore branch of SRC of ICA.
Thank you, sir.
I also welcome all the members. This is the last program in my tenure. I take this opportunity to thank all the faculties. They have supported in conducting all the programs, and all the members. They have participated actively in all the programs, and you have given an opportunity to be in the committee to serve you all. My heartfelt thanks to all of you, and I seek your continued support in future also. I also thank all my committee members, though the strength in my committee, they supported in all the way. I thank all my committee members and ex officios through this forum. And today's program, it's very interesting. We tried to have a physical program with Aanchal Kapoor madam, but it didn't happen. We fortunate to have in at least last session, at least she is joined to agree to take a virtual program. Thank you, madam. Once again, I welcome you for this program. I request Pramod to proceed further. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I request our treasurer to introduce Aanchal Kapoor, madam.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, members. It is my proud privilege to introduce today's speaker, CA Aanchal Kapoor ji. CA Aanchal Kapoor is a fellow member of ICAI since January 2009 and a law graduate. She is in taxation practice for more than a decade. She pursued graduation in commerce from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, where she has been a gold medalist for her excellent academic performance. She attained third rank in all over India in CAP 1 and second rank in Northern India in CAPE 1, and also placed in merit list of the university in graduation. As an additional qualification, she has also completed forensic audits and fraud detection course offered by ICAI. Further, she has also been a merit holder in Bachelor of Law completed in 2021. Apart from having splendid academic background, she has been in practice for over 10 years in the field of indirect taxes and is well acquainted in the field of GST, including departmental and appellate work. She is a national speaker on GST and has deliberated in around 500 plus seminars and webinars across India to members and industry, with the privilege of virtually addressing August gathering of 2000 professionals. She is an approved faculty at National Academy of Customs, Indirect Taxes and Narcotics. She has also done several certified GST courses, including GST course offered by ICAI. She has been a faculty to various certified courses on GST. She is an approved faculty of ICAI. She has the privilege of contribution to various ICAI publications and other elite journals from time to time. She is also actively involved in social activities at various NGOs. She is a member of FICCI Flow Amritsar chapter, working for the well-being of needy persons at old age homes, Pingalwara, etc. And she is the member of All India Federation of National Virtual Tech Web Committee 2021-22. She is active member of ITRAA, Joint Secretary, All India Federation of Tax Professionals 2020-21. She has been awarded by AIFTP as Best Upcoming Speaker and Presidential Award for the year 2021-22. She is the esteemed member of Amritsar branch of NIRC, renowned faculty of ICAI and at NACIN GST Officers Training. She has been felicitated by NIRC and EIRC branch as an eminent speaker on innumerable discussions and seminars. Also presented with award of appreciation by the Intellectual Forum Amritsar. Along with that, CA Aanchal is a prominent writer and authored numerous articles on GST published from time to time in several magazines like AIFTP Journal, ACAE Journals, etc. She is also a regular writer at various online discussion portals such as Taxman, Tax Management India, and Tax Guru. She is co-author of various ICAI publications. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Aanchal Kapoor ji. Thank you.
Now, without coming between the, welcome, madam. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much, sir. And
Now-
I am very thankful. Should I? So
Yes,
sorry,
yes,
I
ma'am.
interrupted
Okay.
in between.
Yeah.
I am very thankful to Bengaluru branch for giving me this opportunity to interact with this on this virtual platform. Thank you, Srinivasan sir and Pramod sir, for this opportunity. Indeed, I could recall my memories when I first met Mr. Srinivasa in the program at Goa. And after that, we are meeting here virtually on this platform. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. And I hope I will be able to justify the faith that has been reposed onto me. And I wish them all for their future endeavors. Now, coming towards the participants, a very good evening to all. See, I have only one rule. Either you meet me personally or we interact personally. If we can't, so you should be very, very live in the chat box. Right? So can I see a few messages? I think so that the chat box is enabled for the participants.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
yes.
being enabled.
All right. So I really don't want to interact with this computer only. Yeah, I could see the messages flowing on my screen now. Rajshekhar ji, I can see good evening. Where are all others? Only he wants to wish me. Nobody else? I can now hear, let's see Gopi Kishore ji. Good evening. Yeah, Dilip ji. So sorry if I pronounce any name wrongly. I give the disclaimer first. Sanjeev Madan ji, Narsimha Rao ji, and Shankar ji, Ishwar ji. Yeah, so good to see. Yes, you all are active. I can understand you have taken your evening tea now and you are very, very active now. All right. So before see Vishnu ji, Sudhir ji, Shini ji, right? Great, Venkat ji. So a very, very good evening to all the participants who have taken their time out and be a part of this program, which is done by your own branch, Bengaluru branch, and given me the opportunity to interact with you all. So friends, without taking much time, let me first share the screen. Okay. I will not first share the PPT. Let me discuss a few provisions with you. Right, Rishikesh ji? A very good evening. Friends, now you see, it doesn't matter whether the answer comes right or wrong. Not at all. Rather, I always say to my daughter also that if you reply wrong and you are being corrected, you are learning more than any other person. Right? So I just want... Right, Rajshekhar ji. Yes, they have put in lots of efforts and we are always thankful to them. Now, friends, what I want to make point here is I want to see the messages flowing in the chat box. So that I must say that I am not able to read the message. This has been the response of Bengaluru branch and the participants today. Does not matter whether we give the correct answer or we give the incorrect answer. We are here to learn from each other. Some points I will be taking home from you. Some points you will be taking home from me. Right? So should we begin? Should we begin? Right. All
Yes.
right. Let me share the screen. And before I share the screen, the topic for the day that has been selected by the organizers is Rule 88C. And you know what is the name of the PPT I have kept? I have kept Vibrant Moves and Curves of GST. You know why? So many changes are there in the GST and so vibrant are those that now though it has become very difficult to keep a proper trail of the entire changes that are happening. Frequent changes we are seeing, frequent moves we are seeing by the government to curtail malpractices and to bring in new provisions. So with this, I just share the screen first. Here it is. Yeah, now let me open the chat box also. Oh, yes. And let me make it the slideshow for all of you. Slideshow. Okay. All right. I will be making sure that after your tea, I will not be coming in between you and your dinner. Right? So we will be doing the provisions timely and will be taking up your queries simultaneously related to the topic first. Now, if I talk about these vibrant curves and moves of GST, yes, we have seen a number of changes. Lots of meetings happening. In December, we witnessed one meeting. Then we got budget. In budget, we saw a few changes. After post-budget, now we again had a meeting 2 days earlier. And the changes that are coming in GST, one of those was Rule 88C, which came pursuant to 48th Council meeting that happened in December 2022. Friends, if you can see, I have mentioned the name here. That is under, particularly while making this slide, I have mentioned Sure, sir, sure. All right. Rule 88C, which is under Chapter 9, Payment of Taxes. Payment of taxes. And particularly, I mentioned it here because I want to highlight that this rule is not under the recovery mechanism. It has been inserted under Payment of Taxes chapter. Now, what this rule has to say? Anybody who can say in just simple 4 words what Rule 88C contains in it. What Rule 88C contains in it? Let me see the answers from all of you. Before you answer me, and meanwhile you are answering me, let me show you one slide. Absolutely, Rishikeshji, GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B mismatch. Now let me tell you all a story first. Government has been very sequential in bringing about the changes. What has that sequence been? In the budget 2021, which became applicable from 1/1/2022. I know in GST, the notification comes on one day. Then a provision is introduced. First, you get the press release. Then a notification will come. Notification will specify with this date, the provision will become active. And then it can have a retrospective effect also. So we need to maintain the complete trail of the sequence of events that are happening. And so happened when the budget 2021 came into being by the notification. The provisions became applicable from 1/1/2022. And a section 75 subsection 12 was given an explanation. What was this explanation? And I tell you the reason for the explanation first. Fake invoicing was the reason, my dear friends, for introduction of that provision. What that provision? Abhi, we are not discussing this provision. Let me come back. Let me tell you the background of when we know the reason, the background, the provision, it still becomes clear to us. What happened? Fake invoicing, to curb the fake invoicing, government introduced an explanation in section 75 subsection 12 in the budget 2021 that became effective from 1/1/2022. That look, if what these people were doing, they were either not filing GSTR 3B. They were not filing GSTR 3B. They were filing GSTR 1 only, because the person who is involved in fake invoicing was filing only GSTR 1. The credit was flowing in GSTR 2A/2B of the recipient. Credit was flowing. They were taking the credit. and without payment of taxes to the government, because the first person was not filing his GSTR 3B. Government put a restriction. Firstly, that if you don't file your GSTR 3B, you won't be able to file your GSTR 1. All right. Now, this person was even smarter. He said, okay, now I'm supposed to file GSTR 3B, otherwise I won't be able to file GSTR 1 and the other person will not be able to take the credit. Now, what he started doing, he started filing GSTR 3B with a liability of, say, 500 rupees and was filing GSTR 1 with a liability of 10,000 rupees. Now, the person was able to escape. He was able to escape the condition because he filed GSTR 3B. Yes, it has been filed. He was filing GSTR 1 with 10,000 rupees and GSTR 3B with 500 rupees. Government, in order to curb such practices, that merely paying 500 or a very small amount, he was passing on the credit to the recipient with such a large amount. Now, what measures did the government took? Government said, okay, wait. If your GSTR 3B, is going to be less than GSTR 3B liability is lesser than as declared in GSTR 1. It means if your GSTR 1 liability is greater than liability in GSTR 3B, first, as per Rule 21, your number can be cancelled. Second, Rule 21A, your number can even be suspended. Your number can be, just give me a while. Your number can be suspended. Rule 21, Rule 21A were introduced. Apart from that, they made a change in section 75, subsection 12, where they mention that if your GSTR 1 liability is greater than GSTR 3B, we will consider GSTR 1 liability as your self-assessment tax. This will become the self-assessment tax. If your GSTR 1 is greater than your GSTR 3B, then it will become, this 10,000 will become your self-assessment tax. And you know, self-assessment tax can be recovered without issuing any notice. I am firstly not going to the case laws where the said provision has been let down by the courts, but let me come to the normal legal provision, what it says. 3 changes they introduced. If your 3B liability is lesser than your GSTR 1, meaning thereby GSTR 1 liability is greater than 3B, they said your number can be cancelled, your number can be suspended, and thirdly, this amount 10,000, which is higher by 9,500 rupees, this 10,000 will be considered as your self-assessment tax, and we can recover this amount from you without issuing any notice. Why? Because you are self-declaring it. You are admitting this is my liability, 10,000 rupees. Come and take it from me. Right? Now, when this provision was introduced, there was a point that the government is making the recovery. There were various case laws. We have the Mahadev construction judgment, and there were other judgments which said that you cannot recover the taxes without any opportunity to the registered taxpayer. To put an end to that litigation, government, by taking backup from section 75, subsection 12, said that we will be intimating you in a form. Can you write the form in the chat box? Can you write the form in the chat box? Quickly, let's see who answers first. Let's see who answers first. They introduced one form and said that Now you will be intimated about the discrepancy. Look, taxpayer, your GSTR 1 is greater than GSTR 3B. Now, when your liabilities, oh, thank God, somebody wrote at least. So, Sushna ji, you have written, but the form number is not correct. Can I see the correct? Oh, yes, Sudhir ji, it is DRC 01B form. Absolutely correct. Right? So, DRC 01B, yeah, right, Soumya ji. So, in this case, DRC 01B form, we will be intimating you the discrepancy and you are supposed to reply us. Now, let's have a look on the provision 88C verbatim. Have a look. See, I already told you that to put an end to the uncertainties prevailing in the trade due to absence of any requirement to issue any notice or intimation under section 7512 by the department, because they were directly initiating the recovery proceedings, rule 88C has been inserted. And you were correct in saying that this is applicable when GSTR 1 liability is greater than GSTR 3B liability. What is the heading of Rule 88C? Manner of dealing with difference in liability reported in statement. Yes, GSTR. Okay. Is GSTR 1 a return? Quickly. Is GSTR 1 a return? Rajashekar ji, I just request you to kindly come in the chat box rather than Q&A session. Right. Absolutely correct, Soumya ji. It is not a return, it is a statement. So statement of outward supplies means GSTR1, and that reported in return here is GSTR 3B. Now let me ask you all a question. Is GSTR 3B a valid return? Is GSTR 3B a valid return? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Dilip ji saying yes. Narsimha ji saying no. All right. Substitute for GSTR 3. My dear friends, now GSTR 3B is a valid return as held by Honorable Supreme Court in case of Aap and Company, and they have mentioned that owing to the judgment of Bharti Airtel, it has now been held that yes, GSTR 3B is a valid return. So all the provisions as applicable for GSTR 3 will be applicable for GSTR 3B also. So that temporary gap adjustment has now been fulfilled. Now, if there is a difference between GST, now what this provision says, if there is a difference in liability as reported in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, then that can be how the officer will be dealing with the same. And you know, friends, I always believe that the pictures speak more than words. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here is the graphical representation of the entire Rule 88C. Let's have a look. What this slide has to say, that if your tax in GSTR 1 is greater than GSTR 3B, or there is difference between the liability as shown in GSTR 1 and 3B, by specified percentage. By specified percentage. Now, my question to you all is, first, is Rule 88C notified? Yes or no? Quickly. Is Rule 88C notified? Yes or no? Has this rule become applicable? Only yes or no? Soumya ji saying yes. What about others? Is Rule 88C notified? Answer is yes. Absolutely, Gopi Krishna ji, Vishnu ji. Rule 88C has been notified. Wide notification 26 by 2020-22, which has already been given in the official gazette. But the rule has not become operative, Harshini ji, due to this specified percentage not yet specified. Right? Absolutely correct. Yet to be made effective, Vishnuji, absolutely correct, because the specified percentage has not yet been specified. It has been notified, but the specific percentage is yet to be given. So it says, if your tax in GSTR 1 is greater than GSTR 3B by a specified percentage, then what will happen? This officer Maharaj will issue. Officer Maharaj? No, it is going to be a system generated intimation. System generated information. It means in the time to come, the officer is nothing to do with it directly. Automatic notices will be issued. Everywhere they are referring to automation. Everywhere. You know, automation is what has been the basis being taken by the government, even in the time to come when the budgetary provision of 2022 will be made effective. There 2B will be showing allowed and disallowed on many grounds. So we wonder how it will be done, but it will all be automated. Now here also, it's very simple that, okay, GSTR 1 liability is greater than GSTR 3B. A system generated intimation in part A of form DRC 01B. So I ask this question to you, form DRC 01B will be issued, intimation will be issued on the portal, and through an email the taxpayer will be intimated. Now this RTP will be intimated about the same, that okay, your liability is greater. 7 days only the time is given. Now this registered taxable person has a time that within a 7 days of receipt of such intimation, she has 2 options. What? Pay the tax and furnish the same in part B. In part A of DRC 01B, a new form DRC 01B has been introduced. 01B, pay and furnish the same in part B and of form DRC 01B on the common portal. And if you don't agree and you don't want to pay, you're supposed to furnish your reply electronically on the common portal in part B of the form DRC 01B itself. 7 days can override the section. Rajesh sir, Raja Shekhar sir, I will be coming to the controversial issues, and I will be definitely taking up your question of 7 days overriding section 73 subsection 8. Definitely. For the time being, I'm just explaining the provision as it exists here. All right, so you be with me for a few minutes. Now, this 7 days provision, they have said that if the officer is satisfied, it's okay. He will drop that. If he's not satisfied or you are not paying, you are not taking any action, not any action taken, neither paid, or if reply has been submitted, but the proper officer is not satisfied, he will initiate the recovery proceedings as per section 79. This has been the provision. What? If your GSTR 1 is showing a higher liability than GSTR 3B by a specified percentage, you will be issued a form part A, intimation in part A of form DRC 01B, given a time of 7 days. You're supposed to reply for the same or either pay the same. If you don't pay, or if your reply is not found satisfactory by the officer, he will initiate the recovery proceedings under section 79. Okay, with this, they have also amended one more rule. I will come to that rule later, but this is the entire gist of this amended rule 88C. Now have a look. I have certain points to make here. This rule is actually likely to affect the taxpayers in case of discrepancies between the GSTR 1 and 3B. I already told you that section 75 subsection 12 has been taken as the base by the government for direct recovery of unpaid, because now you see the nexus. Firstly, they made that the tax paid under GSTR1, if higher than GSTR3B, will be counted as the self-assessment tax. Then they introduced that provision that the self-assessment tax can be recovered even without any issuance of notice, because there were a few judgments. Now they introduced DRC01B. Okay, you will be intimated, given a time period of 7 days window. If you reply to the same, well and good. Otherwise, the recovery shall be made. Along with it, they made amendment in the rule 59. Acha, jaldi se tell me quickly, what rule 59 relates to? What rule 59 relates to? Quickly. You know, when I don't see much messages in the chat box, I really don't like. So quickly answer by all of you. What rule 59 relates to? It relates to GSTR1. No Googling, huh? It relates to GSTR1. Now, if I talk about GSTR1, Rule 59 has also been amended that, look, taxpayer, if you have been issued the intimation in the form GSTR1B and neither you have paid the same or you are not responding to the same, you have not taken any action against DRC01B that has been issued to you, you will not be allowed to file your GSTR1 for subsequent tax period, unless you either deposit or you furnish a reply explaining the reasons for any unpaid amount. Right? But what is the missing leg? It does not say that if the taxpayer has furnished the reply, but the officer is not satisfied, it is not up to the satisfaction level of the officer, then Rule 59 will be applicable or not. Because it says only in 2 cases, your GSTR1 will be blocked, my dear registered taxpayer. What? You are not filing the reply, neither you are filing the reply, nor you are paying the amount. But if reply furnished and not held valid, then it does not talk about blocking of GSTR1. I hope you all are getting what I'm trying to say. So what it has to say, Rule 88C introduced. Along with that, Rule 59 has been amended, and the new inserted rule has made that GSTR1 and 3 be reconciliation and indispensable and very, very time-sensitive exercise. And now suppose CA has gone out for a vacation for 10 days. The taxpayer bichara will be hung, you know. He will be there for, he will be penalized. The recovery action against him under Section 79 will be initiated. This is a very short window of 7 days. A very time-sensitive and time-bound mechanism has been given to the registered taxpayer to reply within a period of 7 days, to reconcile the differences and to take a call either to pay the taxes or explain the differences. Furthermore, now you see the repercussions. Further, even the Rule 138, which deals with e-way provisions, it even the inaction would not trigger the direct recovery but also block filing of GSTR1. Since now, and you know what, the government has been very smart. They have introduced sequential filing system. You know what, if you don't file GSTR1 for one period, you cannot file GSTR3B. Or you don't file GSTR1 for one period, you cannot file GSTR1 for the subsequent period. Likewise, if you don't file your GSTR1, you cannot file your GSTR3B. So 3B can also not be filed for the subsequent period until this difference is sorted out. And if in case you are defaulting in filing your GSTR1 or GSTR3B for more than one tax period, your e-way bill will also be restricted under Rule 138E. So are you getting what the provision they are introducing? They are mentioning Within 7 days, either you pay the tax or you furnish a reply. If your reply is not found satisfactory, or you do not pay, or your inaction, we can initiate the recovery mechanism under section 79. Apart from that, if you do not pay, or there is inaction, or you do not furnish the reply, of course, in Rule 59, he's not talking about that you are furnishing the reply not to the satisfaction of the officer, PO. No, they are not mentioning. So, two discrepancies means your inaction. You are not furnishing the reply or you are not paying. We will block your GSTR1. Blockage of GSTR1 for one period will lead to blockage of GSTR1 for subsequent periods. Blockage of filing of GSTR3B due to sequential filing being introduced. 7 days merely window has been given to explain the differences, to making it a very, very sensitive time-bound issue. And apart from that, even your e-way bill will be blocked in case you will not be filing, or you will not be allowed to filing GSTR 1 or 3B. And my dear friends, imagine a store which is on real-time basis. Imagine a person whose truck is loaded and is unable to discharge because inadvertently a zero has been put extra in some invoice in GSTR 1. Now, because it was a bill of 2,50,000, but inadvertently 1 zero additionally was put. And I hope we all have done one or such type of mistakes in the past also. एक जीरो कभी कभी एडिशनल लग जाता है और कभी कभी हट भी जाता है. It can be anyway. आपसे गलती से एक नॉन टैक्सेबल सप्लाई का फिगर आपने उसको टैक्सेबल में दिखा दिया. टैक्स अमाउंट सेम ही रहने दिया GSTR 3B. एक इनवॉइस GSTR 1 में गलती से 2 बारी फर्निश हो गया with 1 and 1. एक कैंसल्ड इनवॉइस का नहीं पता चला. Anything leading to difference between GSTR 1 and 3B can prove fatal to the organization, to the concern, if they are not able to justify the same within the time-bound frame. And can anybody tell me any other case where there can be difference between GSTR 1 and 3B? A very, very genuine case, and a fault in the form can lead to difference between GSTR 1 and 3B. Anybody who can? Anybody who can? Chaliye, I tell you in a short while, until take it as a food for thought. Now, the nature of intimation GSTR 1B, DRC 01B is even not clear. Whether it is a notice and what will be its implications. They are not. They are saying you will be issued a form DRC 01B. In the case the reason furnished by the taxpayers are not acceptable, differential amount will be recovered under section 79. But if some items are acceptable, whereas the other items are not acceptable, then it requires the proper determination by the officer and then passing the order that I am accepting this, I am not. My dear friends, it is not even being clarified in the rule whether any any order will be issued to the same or not. It is without passing any order. Just have a look on the slide that I showed you. Did I mention any order will be passed? No. What I mentioned? Pay. If you don't pay, or if your reply is not acceptable, directly recovery proceedings under section 79. Where will you go for the appeal when there will be no order against? I hope you all are understanding. See how the rule has been drafted. Neither it is specifying DRC 1B is going to be an order. Neither it is specifying that the officer will be filing any, will be giving any order, any reasoned order. If it is a notice, then the journal provisions of section 75 become applicable. And if it is not a notice, then those will not apply. Nothing has been specified as to the nature of the form. And I asked you, what can be the reason? What can be the reason of difference? My dear friends, credit notes. Absolutely, Sushna ji, अब तो नीचे भी लिखा हुआ था. अब तो black color में मैंने नीचे slide में भी लिखा था. Right. Now, what can be the reason? Rule negative figures due to credit notes. Now, let me tell you how is it. Now, imagine this, a month, which month is going on? February, right? So imagine that, wait, Feb is going on. What happened? Wait. Yeah, let's imagine February is going on and the person has zero sales, only return credit note. Now what will happen? 3B will go zero. 3B will go zero. Because there is no provision of putting negative liability in 3B in the sales column. Now I will not talk about the input column. That recent amendment has come. 3B output liability cannot be shown negative. Hence he will file 3B 0. GSTR1 will be a negative amount of say 1 lakh rupees because there was totally CN, no sales made during the period. Now in March, he gets a sale of 1,50,000. What he will do? That 1 lakh which he could not adjust of February will adjust in March, allowed. If with the credit note, there is a circular 137 which says if there is a credit note and you are not able to adjust it, carry it to the subsequent period till the next year up to 30th November. Rectification. And if you are not able to adjust, then you take the refund of that amount. If you think that will never be adjusted, apply for the refund under the category excess payment of tax. Now, this person in March got a sale liability of 1,50,000. He said, okay, I have a chance now. What's that chance? I can adjust my 1 lakh rupees against this liability. Now, see, in March, he will be filing GSTR1 with 1,50,000 and 3B with merely 50,000 because of the 1 lakh adjusted of the last month. Now tell me, will he be getting DRC 01B liability for the March? Now it is a system, black box that is sitting there. What that black box is going to say, look, your liability is 1.5 in GSTR1 and 50,000 in 3B. It doesn't know you have made any past adjustment or not. Hence, you will be issued 01B. All hassles will come all the way to reply within 7 days. If not that be done, and if the notice is, if this form is issued after a particular period of time, it all needs the reconciliation. So this can be until or unless the negative figures are allowed in GSTR 3B. Yes, unless they put a system in place to check the cumulative liability. Vishnuji, all these provisions on GST portal are also needed to be implemented. That is why we mentioned that unless you allow the negative figures in 3B in the output liability, Rule 88C should not be made effective. Although it is not yet made effective because the amount of percentage or difference has not yet been specified. But before they put this rule into actual system, they made it effective. They are supposed to come up with the issues like the nature of the form, and they are introducing this provision under the payment of tax rules, 88, not under recovery. Right? Secondly, the question which was asked to me in the beginning, they are surpassing, sir, not only section 73, subsection 8, but they are also surpassing the entire recovery mechanism of section 73 and 74. Moreover, they are even surpassing them. What was the need of this form DRC 01B when you are issuing the assessment, you are carrying on the assessments, you have the DRC, you have the 73, 74 mechanism already in place. You have section 61. The notices are being issued under section 61 that you are supposed to reply for section 61 notices for difference in GSTR 1 and 3B. You are already issuing ASMT 10 forms for the same. But just that you want a quicker recovery within 7 days without intimation, directly section 79, without any right to appeal, will be passing the order or not, how the determination will be done, entire process has been put into a pipeline. Entire provisions are being put at a stake. Now you see how the government has been taking the entire mechanism. They introduce sequential filing. They mentioned that they file GSTR 1, then 3B can be filed. If your 1 is stopped, you cannot file GSTR 3B. Pay the taxes, otherwise GSTR 1 cannot be filed. See, if you have been issued intimation under 88C, rule 59(6) says you cannot pay. So for the times to come, they are absolutely bringing the things into place. And if no consecutive filing for 6 months or 2 months, your number can be cancelled. Apart from this, they have considered in the cancellation rule also suspension rules also, that if your GSTR 3B is greater, GSTR 1 is greater than GSTR 3B, your number can be cancelled or suspended. So let me ask you, when they issue the suspension notice, do they need to give you pre-intimation of suspension, or they can directly suspend your number? Do they need to give you opportunity, or they can directly suspend the number? Write D if you say directly, and if you say opportunity, write O. I have got many mixed answers. Gopi Kishorji, absolutely right. They can directly do it, Narsamaji. They can directly do it. Cancellation, first opportunity, then cancellation. But in suspension, first suspension, and then you will be intimated, registered taxpayer, your number has been suspended. Imagine, although they are giving you the opportunity, but your number will be suspended first. Suspension leads to no issuing of sale invoices. Suspension leads to no e-way bill can be generated, no sales can be made. And think of an online store, huh? Now you are going to buy a Gantt shirt, and the Gantt person says, I cannot make a sale to you. I cannot generate an online bill. Reason? Because my GSTR 1 was greater than GSTR 3B. My number has been suspended. And because my number has been suspended, I cannot issue any sale invoice. Now my counsel is out of town. All over India, the Gantt stores cannot generate that, or any other brand whatsoever. But imagine the hassles the taxpayer will be having. Right now, moving ahead, what are the consequences of non-compliance to Rule 87? We all know that recovery proceedings can be initiated. Now, in this case, one second. Now, yes, absolutely, Rajashekharji. Practically, it's very difficult to revoke the suspension. We have been facing a number of issues in that respect. Anyhow, now let's come back. If I talk about what will be the consequences will be direct recovery under Section 79 can be initiated. What Section 79 has to say? Can anybody tell me what can be the what can be the things that can be resorted to in order to make the recovery under Section 79? What can be done under Section 79? they can ask your, yes, your bank accounts, your properties can be attached. They can even ask your debtors to pay the amount. Let's have a look on section 79. Grade 2, yes, debtor recovery, attachment of bank accounts, all are correct in mentioning that. Now let's have a look on section 79. Where any amount is payable to the government, the proper officer may deduct or may require the officer to deduct amount so payable. If you have the refunds due, they can adjust that. If you have any refunds due, they can adjust that. They can say the person whom you have to make the recovery, yani your debtor, they can say that person to pay the amount directly to the government rather than paying it to you. Recovery by deduction of any money owed. Recovery by the sale of goods under the control of, see, you can see here. Recovery by sale of goods under the control of the proper officer. Then more apart from that, recovery from a third person, your debtor. Recovery by sale of movable or immovable property. Recovery through land revenue, they can say the collector. Recovery through the courts can be made. Recovery from the surety can be made. So this is section 79. They can even ask the appropriate magistrate, and the magistrate will may be recovered in the manner, and the magistrate shall proceed to recover the same from the concerned person. So section 79 can be invoked. Friends, this I've already told you that rule 59 sub rule 6, the rules 59 sub rule 6 of CGST says that if you will not be allowed to file GSTR 1 or 2 IFF for a subsequent period if DRC 01 has been issued and the person fails to take any action against the same. Now, opportunity of being heard. Where the response submitted by the taxpayer is not found satisfactory, directly 79 recovery proceedings would be initiated against the taxpayer without any opportunity of being heard. Sir, somebody was mentioning 73 subsection 8. Even section 75 subsection 4 warrants opportunity of being heard to be given to the person. But here, direct 79 proceedings will be started. Now, one reason I told you, negative sales, that there can be mismatch in 3B and GSTR 1. Apart from that, GSTR 1 is prepared on invoice level. GSTR 3B is prepared on aggregate level. This can even lead to supplying wrong information in 3B head. Wrongly, inadvertently, a 0 is added, a 0 is missed. There can be some errors. So there can be various reasons. Post-filing, you filed GSTR 1 and then you located, oh, there is an error which you corrected while filing your GSTR 3B. But you will be issued DRC 01B. So there can be multiple reasons. Yes, 88C is a draconian provision. As I already told you, no enabling section for Rule 88C. I will tell you what's government say on that in the next slide. There is no enabling section for Rule 88C. It is still not clarified whether DRC 01B is a notice or not. Whether the other provision of notice will be applicable, whether PO will be directly initiating the recovery without any order, how the appeal will be passed against the same if there will be no speaking order in that respect. Time frame given is 7 days. Sir, 30 days time provision has been given in all the other sections like 73. But here they are giving a window of only 7 days. Now, I tell you what is the revenue stand for the same. Revenue says that they draw their power from Rule 88C, draw their power from 75 subsection 12. And we can to make direct recovery. Government कहती है भाई हम तो आपसे section 79 में direct recovery कर सकते हैं because it is a self-assessment. Still we are giving you an opportunity of 7 days. Still. But however, what is why the revenue stand is not applicable? 7512 is only a guidance for the action. if the person who says, I am giving you a reply, that the liability is disputed, it means he is not accepting it. You cannot say your reply found unacceptable. If the reply is found unacceptable, then the question arises, how it is a self-assessment tax? If I am saying I am not agreeing with this liability, I am giving you a reason, you are saying the reason is not acceptable, then how you can say it is a self-assessment tax? When it is not a self-assessment tax, how direct recovery proceedings can be initiated? And yes, entire assessment and demand recovery mechanism under section 73(4) stands surpassed. You talk about 30 days time, issuing of the notice, SCN, every provision of assessment and demand and recovery has been surpassed. My dear friends, there have been already the cases by honorable high courts. A few of them I have given. One is of the Karnataka High Court only, LC Infra Projects, where the government said that even under section 75(12), I tell you what happened. You remember 44,000 crore demand was raised all over India on the basis of interest liability. And the department said it is a self-assessment tax. We can recover it. But Karnataka High Court held that the notion is misconceived. When you are determining, when the person is not showing in return, but you are determining it, you cannot hold it to be a self-assessment tax. Same in Mahadev construction, Jharkhand High Court also held that a proper opportunity should be given. In resultant of the same, DRC 01B has been introduced, but it is a very half-hearted provision that has been introduced. And friends, here I have also given the changes that have been made by Finance Act 2021 with effect from 1/1/2022, that I told you that they have widened the scope of self-assessment tax. So this is the entire provision by virtue of which explanation has been inserted that yes, now the outward supplies that are furnished in section 37 will be considered as self-assessment tax. With this, the main provisions of Rule 88C stands clarified. Before I proceed further, I request all of you, if you have any issue in Rule 88C, you can ask me now. Whatever was there in Q&A session or whatever was there in the chat box that I have replied along with, may I request you to come up with any issues, anybody pertaining to this, so that I can move further. Rule 59 and Rule your 88C. Any issues? And then we will be taking some more recent amendments, some more recent changes related to the same. Anybody? Now, so I hope so. See, ना आने के दो ही reason हो सकते हैं. Either everything is clear or nothing is clear. So I hope, should we proceed further to the different amendments? Should we move further? Are you all ready to go for the further controversial issues? All right, chaliye. Right, Sanjeev ji, Vishnu ji. All right. Now, there are further few more issues apart from Rule 88C. GST came into being to simplify and harmonize the indirect taxes, to allow the free flow of credit, broaden the tax base. Definitely, it is broadening the tax base. But if I talk about simplify and harmonize the indirect taxes, does these lines seem familiar to you? Statement and object of reason clause was this. But however, input tax credit is somewhere seeming to be lost. See how many sections we have. Section 16, litmus test, mischievous rule 36(4), although almost done away now for the times to come. 2A, 2B, blocked credits, Rule 86A, 86B, and Rule 4243, and now a new being added, Circular 183. This is the new addition to the family in order to claim ITC. Friends, in the notification 26/2022, and a number of circulars were also issued pursuant to the press release, the council meeting that 48th council meeting that held in December 2022. Now, coming towards Circular 183, you know what Circular 183 is about? Now let's talk in the chat box for a while. Can you tell me what is Circular 183 all about? 183 is a welcome move for claiming ITC. All right, Vishnuji, although can be a welcome move for certain cases, but again, it is a half-baked cake. It is a half-baked cake. Friends, let me tell you, and how it is, I will let you know. Circular 183 has been issued because in the past years, 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, I have covered all. Chaliye, leave 2021, at least 19-20. There have been an issue that your input tax credit, the input tax credit of registered taxpayer was not reflecting in GSTR 2A. Because it is not reflecting in GSTR 2A, the officers, while conducting the audit, now we all are going for the departmental audits, right? Now, when they are conducting the departmental audits, they were not allowing the input tax credit. As they were not allowing the input tax credit, hence, as a result, there was lots of issues that for 17-18, 18-19 GST 2A was not applicable even, because neither section 16 provided for the same, nor even the rule 36 sub rule 4 was in picture at that time. It came in October 2019. Before it, even the rule did not exist. Then how you can demand? Vishnuji, first, the government has just tried to cover up the litigation, cover up its own part, because the form itself was not applicable for 17-18, 18-19. Now, even in covering up, they have only given the relief for 17-18 and 18-19. Although, through the Honorable High Court, the benefit has been extended for 19-20 also, that I will come to. But circular covers only 17-18, 18-19. And what it covers, again, I have summarized it, only 4 cases. Only 4 cases. First, if the supplier has not filed GSTR 1, but has filed GSTR 3B. Second, your 2A credit is not reflecting, purchaser, your 2A credit is not reflecting because the supplier has not reported the sale made to you. He's filed 3B. Third, he has reported B2B, your invoice, as B2C invoice. Fourth, instead of putting your GSTN number, he has put some wrong GSTN number. Now, are you checking in all these 4 boxes? What is the similarity? 3B filed, 3B filed, 3B filed, 3B filed. It means, oh, Soumyaji, I come to that point also, 16.2c, what you are talking about. Wait, a very interesting point you have raised, and I will definitely give you the supporting and case laws against the same. 3B has been filed, 3B has been filed, 3B has been filed, 3B has been filed. Now, in all the 4 cases, the taxes have actually gone to the government. Soumyaji, your point is also clarified here. You refer to 16.2c. How GSTR 2A is a measure of 16.2c? I give you 4 scenarios. Those are tabulated in my PPT also, I will show you. There can be possibilities that the tax has been paid as per 16.2c to the exchequer of the government, but wrong GSTN number given. But B2C reported transaction has been done. So appearance in GSTR 2A is not a measure of 16(2)(c). I give you one more example. Person has not paid the taxes, but has filed GSTR 1. In this case, it will appear in GSTR 2A, but 16(2)(c) condition is not fulfilled. It is only one scenario when the person has not paid the taxes and has not filed GSTR 1 also. Only then it becomes a measure of 16(2)(c), a provision under 16(2)(c). Otherwise, it's not. Otherwise, it's not. I hope everybody getting it. Friend Soumya ji raised a question that you are saying the provision never existed for Rule 36 sub Rule 4 in the Act for the year 17, 18, 18, 19. There was no provision as to GSTR 2A, but 16(2)(c) exists. 16(2)(c) is not a measure, or cannot be measured through GSTR 2A appearance of ITC. This is my point to make here. So, Amyaji, I hope you the point stands clarified. Anyhow, I will show you one table also where I have raised the same question. That 16(2)(c) cannot be put into practice through GSTR 2A. Anyhow, 4 mistakes if your supplier does and the credit is not reflecting, in all the 4 cases, the tax have been paid to the government. So 16(2)(c) stands satisfied, but still it is not reflecting in your GSTR 2A. Then the para 4 of the circular will applicable. And you know what this para 4 has to say? Limit per supplier is up to 5 lakh rupees. If is up to 5 lakh rupees, you have to take a certificate from the concerned supplier that, okay, I have paid the taxes, but my case is falling under any of these 4 categories. Hence, the RTP, the buyer, is not getting the credit. Kindly allow the credit to him. And if it is exceeding 5 lakh rupees, certificate is required from a chartered accountant or a CMA, and it should contain a DIN. Of course, if certificate is being issued by a chartered accountant, we are supposed to have it under the DIN, and then the credit will be allowed. But in the 4th case, this one, so this chart will give you an entire view of 183. If there is wrong GST and being quoted, then wait, there is one more requirement. अच्छा क्या हुआ? अरे A का नंबर डालना था, गलती से B का डाल दिया. A, तुम्हें तो credit मिल जाएगा because supplier is giving the certificate or chartered accountant is giving the certificate. Now, what about B, जिसका number डाल दिया गलती से? Officer, as an independent proceeding, of course, A's credit is not dependent on it. As an independent measure, you are supposed to, the jurisdictional officer is supposed to take an independent action and check that Mr. B, whose number was wrongly put therein, must not have taken the credit. He must not have taken the credit to be checked by the jurisdictional officer as an independent action. So this is only the requirement in this case because a wrong GSTN has been given. Otherwise, certificates will work. Now, I mentioned that Circular 183 is a half-baked cake. Why so? First, who will give the certificate for the supplier who becomes non-existent? And majority of the problem is supplier becoming non-existent. At that time, when I had the dealing with the person, the supplier was existing. Subsequently, his number has been cancelled by the department. Subsequently, he became non-existent. Who will give the certificate? Neither the supplier nor the chartered accountant. How the chartered accountant or CMA will verify that the entire liability of that person has been met? In majority of the cases, either the problem that are faced, either the supplier is becoming non-cooperative or has become non-existent. And what about the years other than 17, 18 and 18, 19? You know what is happening? ITC of recipient is at the mercy of the supplier's compliance level. If your supplier is compliant, you will get the ITC. If your supplier is non-compliant, you will not get the ITC. Right? Now have a look. This is the case of Wipro Limited India by Honorable Court, High Court of Karnataka, Bangalore. So lots of judgment coming from High Court of Karnataka, where they held that the petitioner would be entitled to the benefit of the circular. Sorry. For the circular for the year 1920 also. So circular 183 that has been come into picture is giving the solution, but to a very limited extent, and it is very difficult to put in practice circular 183 in cases where the suppliers have become non-cooperative or the suppliers have become non-existent. Right? Now, apart from this, my dear friends, there is Rule 37 also that has been introduced, Rule 37A. And you see, again, the person who is the recipient has been put in soup because your supplier is non-compliant. What Rule 37A has to say? Registered taxpayer, recipient, you have to reverse the input tax credit in case the supplier has not made the payment of taxes. You have to reverse it. Okay, when he pays, you can re-avail the same. Now, Soumya ji, again you see, 37A is a separate rule that has been introduced, which is related to the payment of tax by the supplier. Appearance in 2A and payment of tax by supplier are two separate issues. Now, what is the situation which has been dealt in Rule 37A? So friends, firstly, we did Rule 88C in depth, considering what is the provision, considering what are the anomalies in the rule, whether that has been made effective or not, what has been the form, order will be issued or not, recovery proceeding under section 79 will be started. Now, after that, we refer to circular 183, the very, very hot topics of the taxpayers at the moment. We talked about circular 183, where the credit is not appearing in form GSTR 2A for the past period 17, 18, 18, 19. And now we are talking about Rule 37A, introduced by same notification 26 by 2022, dated 26th December 2022 itself. Again, putting a burden on the recipient that, look, recipient, you have to reverse the credit in case situation. Let's analyze the situation. ITC of invoice or debit note, which you are claiming in your 3B recipient, and plus furnished in GSTR 1 or IFF by, it means now, Soumya ji, again, here the person has filed GSTR 1. Credit is appearing in 2B of recipient. Condition of section 16 newly introduced by 16(2)AA. This is the condition that is with 16(2)AA. That is also being fulfilled. But because the input tax credit has, because the tax has not been paid by the supplier, here 16(2)C has not been complied. Soumya ji, if the 16(2)C would have been enabled provision for GSTR 2A, the government would not have brought the amendment of 16(2)AA. 16(2)AA amendment was required by the government just because 16(2)C is not a measure of payment of taxes, cannot be measured by appearance in GSTR 2A. I hope you have got the point now. Now, situation. ITC recipient ने claim कर लिया. Yes, that was there, but I am further explaining that point, though implementation was not done till date. Okay, I just come to that point also. Let me finish 37A. That I will come to your point in detail with all the case laws. All right. Okay. Now, ITC of invoice or debit note that has been claimed in GSTR 3B by the recipient. सामने वाले ने GSTR 1 भर दी, मेरे 2B में क्रेडिट रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है, मैंने उसका ITC अपने 3B में ले लिया, बट अब मुझे उस ITC को रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा. reverse ITC in GSTR 1 on or before 30th 11 of the following year, because outward supplies in form GSTR 3B are not furnished by the supplier before 30th September. Supplier तुम्हें उसे अपनी 3B में 30th September of the following year तक दिखाना था. अगर तुमने सितंबर तक 30th सितंबर तक उसको अपनी रिटर्न में नहीं दिखाया, देन रिसिपिएंट, क्योंकि उसने अपनी 3B में आपकी की हुई सेल नहीं दिखाई है, you are supposed to reverse the ITC in 3B filed on or before 30th 11 of the following year. And if you don't do so, or you do it any subsequent return, then you are supposed to pay the interest. If you don't reverse it till 30th, 30/11 तक का टाइम दे दिया, 30th 11 तक कर दिया, ठीक है, नहीं किया तो अमाउंट भी भरोगे और इंटरेस्ट भी भरोगे. एंड सप्लायर ने अगर सितंबर के बाद आपका इनवॉइस 3B में शो किया, subsequently फाइल कर दी उसने, you can reavail the credit subject to no time limit in form 3B. Now, don't you feel here 16(2)(c) have been put on stake? आप पहले इनपुट ले लिया, अभी तक 16(2)(c) पूरा नहीं हुआ था, सामने वाले ने 3B नहीं भरी थी, आप इनपुट ले लीजिए. कब तक? अगर वो अगले साल की सितंबर तक भी उसको दिखा देगा, हम आपको क्रेडिट उसी पीरियड में अलाउ कर देंगे, 30 पिछले पीरियड में ही. अगर उसने 30/11 तक नहीं दिखाया, so it is an extended benefit that has been given. अगर उसने 30/11 तक नहीं दिखा, 30th 9 तक नहीं दिखाया, तो आपको उस ITC को 30/11 तक रिवर्स करना है, along with the interest post 30th 11. 30th 11 के बाद करेंगे, so you are supposed to pay the interest. और जब if that taxpayer files 3B subsequently, then the credit may be reavailed. So this is the entire provision of newly inserted rule 37B. And my dear friends, I am coming to a very important part where lots of notices are being issued to the taxpayer. Yes, a big challenge. How I will know if the supplier filed 3B or not? It means you must check the level of compliance of your taxpayer. It is available online. If somebody has not filed, so you are supposed to report the same. Moreover, in the times to come, there is going to be complete automation. Automatically, if you have claimed any credit and that is not reflecting, the other person has not filed 3B, it will go into the red zone. Not allowed. Right? Chaliye. Now, moving ahead. Friends, this was the provision which I was talking with Soumya ji, has been introduced by Budget 2021 and made effective from 1/1/2022. And you all know GSTR 2B has won the battle. Now, for the periods before this, lots of notices are coming. What has been the challenge? Here is the challenge. Is registered person 3 questions पे सबसे ज़्यादा notice आते हैं. And I am giving you entire jurisprudence, all the justifications which you can specify, all the arguments that you can raise in your replies, that how this particular thing should be dealt for. First, the notice comes, आपको ITC नहीं मिलेगा because the other person has not deposited the tax under section 16(2)(c's conditions does not stand satisfied. Second, taxpayer भाग गया है, आपको ITC कैसे मिलेगा? The supplier has become non-existent. 16(2)(c) condition is not fulfilled. He has not paid the taxes. Second, if the credit is not appearing in GSTR 2A, the credit being denied by the officers. Third, past period I'm talking about, Rule 36 sub-rule 4. Does it hold any validity? Now let me talk about it. First, where department says that the seller has not deposited the taxes and thereby the receiver will not be allowed the credit, Let me tell you, my first argument is section 16(2)(c). Of course, talks about actually paid. It has actually turned out to be a nightmare provision. You know why? It is based upon the rule, let the buyer beware. Right, Soumya ji? This is what you were saying. How I will get to know? Let the buyer beware. Let the buyer beware means you must know whether the other person is complied with or not. Purchaser is not given any remedy to check and to ensure the compliance by the seller due to the matching concept never being introduced. But still, you are supposed to have the control over the seller. Can I control my seller? The answer is no. So purchaser is without any legal remedy to ensure the compliance by the seller in the absence of the matching concept of section 42. Hence, where the machinery mechanism is missing, you cannot ask the taxpayer to implement a particular provision. Second argument is based upon the legal maxim, lex non cogit ad impossibilia. Law cannot compel a man to do the impossible. If you say me, you must file your return, definitely I can do it. But you cannot say me, my supplier's action to be controlled by me. If it is proved that a person is bona fide, he is discharging his own duties, you cannot enforce in the lag of any machinery mechanism to another person to say enforce or to say him to do his part of the compliance. In the past GST regime, pre-GST regime, we had a number of judgments. Here is the list, my dear friends, starting from KK Industries by Honorable Supreme Court, Arise India by Delhi High Court, Onquest Merchandising, Gherumal Balchan, Altaf Shoes, Shanti Kiran, a number of judgments in the pre-GST regime. And in all these judgments, honorable courts have held that you cannot make the recovery from the innocent purchaser, recipient, who is without any convenience, has without any indulgence, has duly paid the taxes to the supplier. Even in the post-GST regime, we have Honorable High Court judgment of Kolkata High Court in case of LGW Industries Limited. And you know what has been the background of it? Have a look. This was the petitioner, LGW. And this was the supplier who was a non-existent and became non-existent, and his bank accounts were even found fake. Petitioner LGW said entire payments have been made through proper banking channels. Cancellation has been made retrospectively by the department. Due diligence has been exercised to check the genuineness and identity of the supplier. And the court held that if the actual bank payment has been made and it is appearing in two-way, there is bona fide, there is no collusion, ITC should be allowed to purchaser LGW. They were saying, what else you require from LGW? Entire things are on record. Even then you are making me responsible for the supplier being non-existent. And the court held that if the payments are found genuine, transaction found genuine and supported by valid documents, LGW will be allowed the credit. Apart from that, we also have one more judgment, that is DY Bethel. In this case, there is a slight difference between LGW and DY Bethel. And what's that? In DY Bethel, Madras High Court said that purchaser was Bethel and Charles and Shanti were seller. They said first department should have proceeded towards Charles and Shanti. If they are unable to make the recovery from Charles and Shanti, then they can proceed to Bethel. Not directly. You cannot come directly to the purchaser for the recovery until and unless action has been initiated against the seller. In LGW, they held you cannot make the recovery from the purchaser if he is a genuine purchaser. And this they held, first take action against seller. If you are unable to recover, then you come to Bethel. Apart from this, in Balco judgment, Bharat Aluminium Company judgment, the recovery proceedings have been stopped. We have SILE Enterprises also, where the issue, they have mentioned that it is an issue which is on the law framed by the government that needs to be considered. Various writ petitions like Shri Gobind Alloys and others are being, Mesa Surat Association ka bhi cases also there, where the constitutional validity of 16(2)(c) has been challenged. Apart from that, the government on its own press release has said that there is no automatic reversal of input tax credit. That is why Rule 37A has been initiated. Recovery shall be made from seller. However, a reversal of credit from buyer shall also be an option available to the revenue authorities. But what is presently happening? What we have to see in Rule 37A, that they are saying we can make the direct recovery from the person. So what is the conclusion of this? You are punishing innocent for the sins of the others. No innocent should be punished, and recovery should not be made from them. Now, coming towards the point, Soumya ji, which we were talking about, is registered person entitled to take ITC if the invoices are not reflecting in GST or 2A? And this is one of the major questions of audit these days, departmental audit. This is, we will not allow you credit because your GST or 2A is lesser and you have taken higher amount of input. Reflection in GST at 2A or 2B is not a measure of 16(2)(c). Have a look on this chart. 16(2) conditions, if the GST are 1, there can be various scenarios. In some, both conditions stands not satisfied. In some conditions that's satisfied. So first is reflection in GST at 2A or 2B is not a conclusive proof of payment of tax by the supplier. So you cannot say there was any legal provision that was giving backing to Rule 2A pre-Rule 36 sub-Rule 4. Yani in 17, 18 and 18, 19 up to October 2019, there was not even any section, any rule that was given backing and to the form GST 2A, and even post October 2019 till 1/1/2022, yani before that, there was no provision which was giving backing to Rule 36 sub-Rule 4. No provision. It was 36(4) is a provision which was without the parent provision. That is why government needed the amendment in Section 16. Moreover, Honorable Supreme Court, Apex Court in Bharti Airtel, friends, it was a negative judgment. It was an against judgment. In this, the 923 crore liability was raised against Bharti Airtel, overruling the Delhi High Court judgment of Bharti Airtel. But in this also, the Honorable Apex Court has held that GSTR 2A is only a facilitator. Now, let me tell you, you know what was the story? Bharti Airtel didn't take the credit. They said because it was not appearing in GSTR 2A, so we kept waiting, and we didn't take the credit. Court said GSTR 2A is only a facilitator. If the credit was appearing in your books of accounts, which is the primary source, you should have taken the credit. So same rule applies in our case, vice versa also. If a particular credit is not appearing in my 2A, but it is there, I have all the conditions of Section 16 being fulfilled, tax invoice, actual receipt of goods and services, filing of the returns, payment of the taxes, then even if it is not appearing in 2A, 2A is only a facilitator. So it's all the Apex Court also which is giving this view. Moreover, press release dating 18th October also says that GSTR 2A does not impact the ability of the taxpayer to avail ITC if all the conditions of Section 16. Now, friends, apart from this, we have one Circular 183 also. And there are other things that there is, like you are saying me, how we can do so, how we can check that when there are gaps in original laws And moreover, we have the case of Honorable Supreme Court in Daiichi Karkaria and Eicher Motors, which clear-cut says that you cannot deny my substantive right just because of procedural lapses of another person, right? Applying the doctrine of impossibilia, these are the various, when friends, let me tell you, whenever we are getting the notices on these issues, we are quoting each and every part. Never shy in giving the judgments or replies up to any level, even if it is a smaller level, even if you are appearing before the superintendent, your submission should be proper. Moreover, although it's not the topic for the day, but still I'm just putting here a point, section 16 subrule 4, subsection 4, where it has been held that you are supposed to take the input tax credit up to a particular period. I have put in certain points for section 16 subsection 4 also, but I'm not discussing the same, where time period, see, one is the taxpayer should be tax compliant. If you're not tax compliant and something wrong has been done, now how to save that later on, these are the judgments for that. So those I have tried to put in here. Moreover, friends, in the budgetary amendments that have been made effective from 1/1/2022, various provisions have been, friends, this is 16 subsection 4 का, जिनका भी notices आए हैं section 16 subsection 4 में regarding validity of time period. So you can resort to these cases where we say that 16 subsection 4 is not applicable. So these are the provisions. I'm not discussing them verbatim. Now, let me tell you that Sameji, I have put in the cases for 16 subsection 4. So you can kindly check these PPTs. Those have been challenged as of now, like in Shriji Earth Movers and various other cases, Nitya Construction. But the result has not yet come. Any favorable direct case law on section 16 subsection 4 is not available, right? Now, coming towards, there are various changes in ITC rules. And if you see, GSTR 2B has been given the legal backing by last budget, 2022 budget. Even the provisions, if you see, these are the provisions that have been brought into picture. And the day these provisions will be implemented, it will be very, very difficult to take the input tax credit. Abhi tak to we have been checking ki mere source ne, yani my supplier must have paid the taxes. Now, when these provisions will be implemented, you are supposed to check implemented, of course, but the machinery budget has already been passed and notified. But the provision, the rules have not yet been framed. But the moment these rules will be framed, now you are supposed to check the source. Even आपके supplier ने भी कोई गलत इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट लिया और उस इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट से आपका टैक्स पे हुआ है, you will be denied the input tax credit. It means अभी तक हम सिर्फ सोर्स चेक करते थे, सप्लायर. अब हम सप्लायर का भी चेक करना पड़ेगा कि अगर उसका आईटीसी इनकरेक्ट हुआ तो the credit to all the purchasers of that person will be denied. And now the question comes, how this will be done? It is going to be automatic. Your 2B will be showing that credit as ineligible. In green portion, that credit will not reflect. It will come in not available. And you know now 3B and GSTR 2B are being linked. If the credit will appear in not available column, the person will not be allowed the credit. Friends, the cancellation provisions that I discussed, that 3B versus 1 cancellation, 3B versus 1 suspension of registration, those all are the part of this PPT. Apart from this, now 86B rule has become a necessity. Section 16 में जो restrictions refer किए हैं उसमें rule 86B भी applicable है. 1% payment of tax in cash mandatory. I have given the entire working of Rule 86B, legal provision in graphical form, and case studies along with it, impacts, that how 3 illustrations that what can be impact of Rule 86B, which you can refer to. Thank you so much for your patient listening. With this, I end up my deliberation for the day. Over to you, sir. You can open the house for queries now. Any issue, Pramod ji?
Yes, ma'am. Any questions you would like to take? There's a last question in the chat box. Any favorable cases for 16?
I have already dealt with the same, that it is the part of the PPT, the cases that are pending, but as such, no outcome directly of the same. Any participants, if they want to ask any question, right? Gopi Kishorji, I was wondering, आज ये question ही नहीं आया, will you give us the PPT? Definitely, that has been prepared for you all and will be shared with you all. And you know, generally, this is the first question which people ask by looking at the PPT. Although, after this, when they take the PPT, they put it in their locker, you know, Digi locker, in the PC. You open or you don't open, but we all are in the habit of collecting the same. It will definitely be shared through the platform of the branch. So 100%.
This reminds of the CA exam when you collect various author notes, right? But you don't read anything and
Absolutely correct. I still remember that it for my accounting paper, I would have collected the accounting standard notes for so many different persons. And इतना पढ़ना पड़ा उसके बाद फिर लगता था अच्छा notes है तो इसमें भी point check कर ले.
Yeah. I think you can leave the PPT with us. We will upload it on the respective section under the Bangalore branch. I think we are good to go then.
Right. If any participants has any problem, you can please even unmute them so they can ask. And thank you so much for so good words in the chat box. I can see your words are really an appreciation for me. And any person, any query, kindly you can proceed with the same. You can even unmute and ask me the query.
Participants don't have the option of unmuting.
Oh, okay, so they can put that in the chat box.
Yeah, chat box will be fine.
I think we've come to an end. The PPT will have your email ID, ma'am. Looks like that they will probably post you certain questions post the sessions.
Yeah, sure. Whatever questions were raised during the session that I've addressed there and then.
Yes.
And in case of any subsequent query on the topic, it will have my email ID, although it sometimes becomes difficult to assess all the questions online. Provided it's not such a long query, I will try to address it. Thank you so much, Sanjeev Madanji, Mrinal Kantiji, Ashoka Raoji, for all your kind words. And thank you once again to the Bengaluru branch for giving me this opportunity to interact with such a knowledgeable audience. Over to you, Pramodji.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Firstly, on behalf of Bangalore branch of SISC of ICI, I would like to thank you for taking up the session even at the short notice and sparing your valuable time with us. And also, definitely, I thank all the participants who made it to today's program and coming in large numbers. Thank you, everyone. This program is for you. Of course, as Mr. Srinivas ji, our chairman, who did mention that today is his last program of the tenure. Of course, the same goes with me as well. As a secretary, this would be my final vote of thanks for the entire CP for the year. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for making it. And thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to being a part of it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants.